Hey guys, Dale's Dirty Room Knives. So I've had an email request concerning a workshop tour, and basically how I get all the gear in such a small workshop that I have in here in order to produce knives. Basically I've got all the gear in here for fixed blades, folding knives, and anything that you could need and could want to produce knives, obviously up to the standard that I produce them at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you a decent vantage point and I'll take you around the shopping sections. I've set all the tooling out in the positions that I'd use it in, and I'm going to demonstrate how to get around the limits of such a small workshop. First corner we got here, the door's here, okay, literally I can put one hand here, one hand on the other side there, okay. It really is just to give you an element of exactly how narrow this is, alright. And what we've got here to start with, we got a drill press, just a cheap drill press. I think it was about 60 quid, something like that. I've had to replace the belts at some point, and I will be replacing the chuck because the holes are getting a little bit baggy now. But here's my drill press here, and it's lasted me for a good two and a half years so far. So, you know, not a bad little piece of kit. Definitely a worthwhile investment. But basically in here, everything is either I quote, movable, flippable, or easily takedownable, and I'll explain that to you. The only things that are actually bolted down is, one is my vise, for obvious reasons, and two is my buffing wheel over there, which we'll get to in a second. The heat treat oven also doesn't go anywhere because it's a big unit, but apart from that, everything else is movable. Now it's going to look quite cluttered here because, like I say, I've set everything out in the positions that I'll be using them in. So the drill press is here. Again, it's not bolted down, but if I need to, I've got a couple of G clamps that I can clamp it down to if I ever need to bolt it down, but so far I haven't needed to do that, okay. Now what happens here is when I don't use it, it slides back into that corner there, opening up that space there, okay. I've got a bolt that goes through the worktop here to stop it sliding back too far and busting the window out, okay. So that's my drill press there. Comes out of here when I need it, slides over there when I don't. Next up we have, there we go, my devil's toothbrush, as Doberman calls it. Or it's a Fordham type rotary tool. All right. If you use a Dremel a lot, I do highly suggest picking up one of these. These are absolutely awesome. I use this for jimping, for cutting, sharpening notches, for opening up holes, a whole range of stuff. Tack texturing, use this for the tack texturing as well. Okay. Now this is clipped onto here, which of course is right next to my grinder, which is not ideal. So this actually unclips from here. Just take it off a little stand. And then this is kept underneath my workbench in a toolbox to protect it from metal dust, swarf, carbon fibre dust, all that sort of business. So this is actually kept clean and protected while it's not being used. So like I say, that just clips off of here like that. I don't keep it next to the grinder for obvious reasons. Alright, now if we go down to here a little bit, if I just adjust the camera, this is where my extraction goes. Courtesy of Moleskin Joe, Big Bad John. Okay, that sits on there and this is connected up to my extraction underneath the desk. Again, as with most things, this is removable, so it's not permanently jutting out into my working area. Okay, now next up we have the grinder, which is obviously my main tool here. So I'm going to adjust the camera again and get you a better shot of that. So the grinder, no doubt the sort of centerpiece of the workshop. If you're a knife maker, then you basically you're going to want a grinder. I do have the 1x30, which was most generously given to me by John from Three River Blades. That is under the bench. That is also covered up as well. Anything that's not used on a regular basis is covered up with heavy duty bin bags and sealed, so nothing gets in there, nothing destroys it. Okay, so yeah, we've got the grinder here. I've modded this to accept, I've got the other wheel out, where is it? There it is. To accept different types of wheels. Okay, and this is bolted down but hinged on that corner there. Alright, and the reason for that is, you will see me doing this a lot. You'll see me moving stuff out of the way to get to other stuff. That's the nature of the beast with such a size workshop. Alright, so here's the main grinder. Obviously the main tool arm is removable. I have a hollow grinding wheel there in a sec, which I'll show you. But yeah, the main tool arm is removable. Again, if I need to cut down space or I need a little bit more workspace here, I usually remove this when I'm heat treating, because I set my plates up along here. But like I say, this has been raised up, quite a simple sort of hinge mechanism. And what happens here is it flips over to that side, and as you can see, opens up all this area here. So if I'm using the drill press, I'll bring the drill press in a little bit, and I will use this area here for my scales and my drill bits and everything I want to do pertaining to scales and everything like that, while I'm using the drill press here. Okay. Also, something that I've got here, which you can obviously see, I'll tilt the camera down. This is my router table that I use for shaping carbon fibre scales. Now, there was a couple more questions on Instagram about this, and the reason I use this for carbon fibre as opposed to the grinder, so I'll show you this as well. Right. Also connected up to my extraction, I have a hose that pops in there like that. Now, when I'm using my Carter G10 wood or anything like that, my usual extraction, which sits here, catches all the debris from the grinding process. Carbon fibre is lighter, and that just gets thrown around the workshop, covers everything in carbon fibre dust, and obviously stays in the air for a while. So with this here direct extraction, as that's spinning, it basically sucks it straight out. So 90% of the carbon fibre goes straight into the extraction from there. So that's why I use this here. Again, when I'm not using this, this is unbolted and kept underneath the workbench down there, also covered with a plastic sack. Alright, so obviously I'm not using this every day, so it doesn't need to be out every day. So again, this is easily takedownable. So we pop that over there. And of course, the beauty of also having a flipping flipping grinder, a grinder that flips, is that I can then use it in a horizontal position for texturing and you know, horizontal grinding if necessary. Now let me show you these quickly. All right, these are the lights that I use in here. These came from IKEA. I think they were £10 each, so around 16, 17 US. I mean, that's the exchange rate. They could be a completely different price. But the good thing about these is, again, these are completely movable. I can put these where I want them, have them shining where I want them. Okay, there's a good long cable attached to these. These are plugged into a separate plug underneath the bench there, and I can just put these anywhere. My mill is down there behind me. I'll show you that in a second. If I want to, then this easily has enough cord that I can use that down there and use that on as a spotlight for the mill when I'm working on it. So these are superb, absolutely excellent. Also, what I've done here is I've screwed a piece of angle iron to the central beam up here, and when I'm grinding, I can clip them up there either side. When I'm sharpening, I like to have a good deal of light and just have both of these shining exactly onto my platen where I want it to be. Also, if I'm doing jimping or anything like that, I can have that shining from the back, from the beam up here, to get a good angle on my jimping as well. So having removable lights in a workshop like this is absolutely superb and highly recommended. So that's the grinder section. I'll move you along to the next section here. So the same camera. Right, okay, what we got here? We got quench plates. I also have 2 more sets of quench plates underneath the bench there. Now obviously without this here, these quench plates are moved forward, those quench plates are put on the side there, so everything that can be done straight from my heat treat oven, which is here, straight onto the quench plates with the minimum of time lapse in between. Got a bunch of blades here, some of which are in the process, most of which are in the process, and some of which I have pre-heat treated. So when an order does come in, that's one less step that's to take care of. Okay, so sort of planning ahead and getting things done is getting things prepared in anticipation of whatever you're going to need to be done is also part of the process as well, because it's all about time, and there is time wasted between moving stuff out of the way and putting stuff up and all that sort of business. So, you know, preparing ahead and all that is generally recommended. So, like I say, quench plates are there. Now I leave these quench plates out because also when I flip, the VFD rests on this and makes the whole thing horizontal. If without that, it would be tilted to one side. Okay, so that's why they stay there. So let me change the perspective here and I'll show you what's at this end of the workshop. Okay, undoubtedly the second most useful piece of equipment in my workshop is the heat treat oven. Homemade heat treat oven. It's about 2 foot long in to the 30 inches long in total, so it's tucked in the corner at an angle, and taken up as minimal space as possible. Obviously this is not easy to move, so this stays where it is, and everything around this sort of area works around the heat treat oven. Also, as you can see, we've got a mill here. Absolutely love this piece of kit. Again, as with everything else behind me, this doesn't stay here where it is. This is not bolted down. So far I haven't needed to bolt it down, because basically this here is bolted to that, and that's what you're working from. There isn't enough like vibration or movement or anything like that for it to start shifting around. So this comes out when I need it, and then I push it back. I'll show you. Push it back into that corner there, which gives me this workspace here. Alright, again, this is covered with a heavy duty black bag when it's not being used, to save all the swarf getting in it again. Alright, so we've got everything there, and then finally, like I say, the other piece of kit that is bolted down is the buffing wheel here. Again, for obvious reasons, you don't want this jumping around all over the place when you're trying to buff. You need to get in there with the pressure. Clamping it, in my eyes, would not be safe enough, so this is bolted down. This doesn't move. Okay, and then on the back wall, I'll show you all this, we basically have storage set up. We've got hooks, we've got shelves, we've got all the pliers and all that slung over the backboard there, which I've screwed to the back. This is all exterior ply, 3/4 inch exterior ply, so sturdy enough, and that's what I've bolted a load of stuff to. The same on this side. Alright, so like I say, I'm not covering all the little bits of kit that I've got that I've picked up that I might use for knife making. This is just basically the larger pieces of kit and where they're situated in the workshop. So I'll change perspective again and I'll show you finally what's on this back wall here. Alright, so what we got here, we got more storage. Definitely useful. This has got all my bits and bobs in it, my Abranet, sanding blocks, this and that, sanding drums, which I don't tend to use so much now that I've got the small wheel attachment, and just various other bits and bobs, which, you know, the kind of things that you might hoard and don't want to get rid of in case you're going to use them again, you know, or you can get rid of all that and actually have stuff you're going to use. I've got my little angle box here, little DTI from Lee, and handle scale bolts, drill bits, all that sort of business, again within easy reach. Then saying that, everything's within easy reach. So yeah, that's what we got there, and then of course I've got my backboard here with various other pieces of kit that I use screwed onto it up here, and then all the way over on this side I've got my belts. Now I use a very limited selection of belts, not because I ain't got the room for more belts, but because there are certain processes in a stage that you don't need, in my opinion. Alright, you don't need to go from an 80 to a 120 to a 180 to a 220, that sort of business, you know what I mean? So again, limited selection of belts, but I'll cover those maybe in another video at some point. Leather apron in the corner here, and a coat, and a few little bits of crap down there, and my steels down there as well. Also on the floor, I will cover that, I've got a little stick welder, which is very cool, and I've got my ferric chloride and my rinsing pot down there. So there's a lot of space underneath the benches, which is additional storage, if you like. I also have a 25 kilogram propane tank under there, 6 kilogram propane tank under there, and a 2 foot deep oil quench tank under there. So you can see that there's plenty of room. Okay, there's plenty of stuff to get in everything that you want, as long as you don't mind moving it as you go. A lot of the time I will have to move something out of the way to use something else, but again, that's the nature of the beast in a workshop this size. What I can't recommend is how you go about not banging your head on the ceiling if you're 6 foot tall. You'll have to figure that one out for yourselves, because damn it, I do it every day. So there you go, guys. I hope you found that useful. Any questions, drop me in the comments box and I'll do my best to get back to you. Until then, see you all in the next vid. Peace.